Today, we're going to trace the absolutely incredible and, let's be honest, terrifying evolution of nuclear weapons design. We're going to see how we went from the very first atomic weapons to devices with almost unimaginable power, all in just a handful of years. Into it. All right,
And
let's
that
get it.
really is the big question here, isn't it? It's a question of physics, sure, but also of raw engineering and a relentless push for more and more power. The jump from the bombs of 1945 to the superweapons of the Cold War is honestly one of the wildest technological leaps in all of human
Even
history.
begin to talk
So
about the
before we
bombs themselves, we got to get our heads around the basic engine that makes them work. And it all starts with one single fundamental bit of physics.
It's called
And that
nuclear
idea?
fission. All it really means is splitting a big, heavy atom. You take something like uranium-235, you hit its nucleus with a neutron, and poof, it becomes unstable and splits apart. Now, this releases a truly staggering amount of energy. We're talking a million times more than a normal chemical reaction, plus a few extra neutrons. And those extra neutrons, well, they're the secret sauce to everything that comes next.
Crazy.
Those
This is
free
where
neutron
neutrons go on to create a cascade. So one neutron starts one fission, which might release, say, three more neutrons. Those three then cause three more fissions, which gives you nine neutrons. And those nine cause nine more. You see where this is going. In a sliver of a second, this chain reaction just explodes exponentially, releasing an unbelievable amount of energy all at once. And that is your atomic bomb. If you're one of those
So,
first bomb makers, you've got a huge problem, right? How do you get enough of this fissile material, what they call a critical mass, all together fast enough for that chain reaction to happen before the bomb just, well, blows itself apart prematurely? And it turns out they came up with two totally different solutions. On the left, you've got the gun-type design. This was used in the little boy bomb over Hiroshima. The concept is super simple. You literally just fire one piece of uranium into another, like a bullet down a gun barrel, to make a critical mass. On the right is the implosion type from the Fat Man bomb. Here, things get way more complex. You take a sphere of plutonium and you surround it with perfectly shaped conventional explosives. When they all go off at the exact same instant, they crush the plutonium, squeezing it so hard that it becomes dense enough to go supercritical. And this number, this just says it all. Over 98%. Think about that. Almost all of the incredibly precious, hard to make uranium in that first bomb did absolutely nothing. It was just blown away and scattered before it could even fission. The gun method was just too slow. The bomb was already tearing itself apart before the chain reaction could really get going. This staggering wastefulness meant they had to find a much, much better way to do this. Okay, so the next big jump forward wasn't some brand new type of bomb. It was about making that existing fission design, specifically the more efficient implosion design, work a whole lot better. Honestly, the best way to think about this next step is like adding a turbocharger to an engine. You're not changing how the engine fundamentally works, pistons and all that, but you're about to inject something that's going to give you a massive boost in power and efficiency. And this is boosting. What the designers did was put a tiny little bit of fusion fuel, a couple of gases called deuterium and tritium, right inside the hollow pit of an implosion bomb. As the plutonium starts to fission, the insane heat and pressure makes that gas fuse. Now, that little fusion reaction doesn't add much to the bomb's total power, but what it does do is release a massive flood of fresh neutrons. And what do those neutrons do? They slam right back into the plutonium, kicking that fission reaction into hyperdrive. This boost made bombs way more efficient, which meant they could be smaller, lighter, and get more bang for your buck. And that brings us to the real game changer, the biggest innovation of them all, the true H-bomb. This is the design that takes you from an atomic bomb to a superweapon. Here, called the Teller-Olam design, is just brilliant and completely counterintuitive. It's a bomb that uses the energy from another bomb to set it off. So you start with a regular fission bomb, they call that the primary. When it detonates, it's not the physical shockwave that matters most. It's the insane flash of X-rays. These X-rays flood the weapon's casing at the speed of light, getting there way before the slower blast. They hit the second part of the bomb, the secondary, and instantly vaporize its outer layer. This creates this perfect, symmetrical, inward-crushing force, an implosion way more powerful than any conventional explosive could ever hope to achieve. This insane compression ignites a fission spark plug down the middle, which then finally ignites the massive fusion reaction of the second stage. And the results? Well, just look at this. First fission test, Trinity, yielded about 25 kilotons. Okay,
Just 7 years later, the first true thermonuclear test, Ivy Mike, yielded over 10,000 kilotons. That's not just a little better, that is a 400 times jump in power. Think about that. The entire game of nuclear warfare had been completely rewritten, basically overnight.
So, why does all this nerdy engineering stuff?
I mean, who cares about the design, right? Well, it matters because this rapid evolution didn't just create bigger bangs. It created an entirely new strategic reality for the entire planet. So let's break down what this evolution really did. Boosting allowed for miniaturization. Suddenly you can make warheads small enough to stick on a missile or even fire out of an artillery piece like the old Davy Crockett. The two-stage design meant you could scale the yield. You could basically dial a yield for whatever you needed. And here's the really clever and kind of scary part. It was cheap. You could use common, unenriched uranium in the second stage, which would also fission, adding massively to the yield without costing a fortune. These basic ideas became the blueprint for pretty much every nuclear arsenal built during the Cold War.
Think about this for a second. In less than 2 decades, we went from a clunky, incredibly inefficient first try to a standardized, scalable, and terrifyingly powerful system. It was an explosion of innovation that created a technology that has defined global politics for over 70 years. And it really makes you wonder, right? If all of that changed in just 20 years, what could the next generation of weapon design